Well, hey guys, in today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you 7 tips to hydrate your skin this summer. If you are looking to improve skin texture, tone, clarity, just get that radiant, healthy glow, hydration is the name of the game. But in the summer months, you may be engaging in certain activities a lot more often that actually can potentially compromise the health of your skin's moisture barrier. And ultimately, what does that do? Well, it leads to the escape of hydration, water loss, commonly known as transepidermal water loss. Things that influence moisture retention in the skin include the skin's barrier function and the status of it, as well as hygroscopic things that hold water in the skin. And then third is the cell turnover rate. With age and with certain skin conditions like acne and atopic dermatitis, there can be kind of a slowing of cell turnover, and that leads to inefficient barrier function, ultimately leading to more escape of water. My number 1 tip for hydrating your skin in the summer is to actually streamline your routine, perhaps even just going down to cleanser, moisturizer, sunscreen. I like to refer to this as a skincare reset. I actually have a whole video explaining how to do a skincare reset, what the principles of it are, how it can be incredibly beneficial. It's something that we recommend before certain cosmetic procedures or when patients come in and they have skin problems that may be related to their skincare products. So definitely check that video out. Streamlining your routine can definitely help with moisture retention, because when you're using too many products, especially if they're not agreeable to your skin, the more products you're using, they actually can disrupt the lipid barrier, leading to more water loss. Number 2 is to choose products that support moisture retention, either through barrier function, through hygroscopics, or through supporting cell turnover. What do those ingredients look like and sound like? These are ingredients that pretty much can be found in any type of skincare product out there, whether it be a cleanser, a serum, a toner, a lotion, a moisturizer. Chances are the products that you are using have these ingredients in them, but just understanding that how these ingredients work can help you lean into them to do a lot of the heavy lifting for you in your skincare routine. Let's talk about some hygroscopics that I love. Hyaluronic acid helps to hold water in the top layers of the skin, keeping it hydrated, and ultimately that smooths out fine lines and skin texture. It also helps support skin barrier turnover because the hydration that is held there in place allows the enzymes in the skin barrier to function better, and ultimately that supports cell turnover. You also have glycerin, which can penetrate a little bit more deeply to hydrate the skin. You have marine extracts, which are very, very hygroscopic. For example, The Ordinary makes a wonderful hydrating serum, the Marine Hyaluronics. I highly recommend it. As a matter of fact, YouTube has a shopping feature, or if you tap on the little shopping bag, this product should pop up. So I will put it there for you. What about ingredients that support barrier function? 2 really come to mind. Ceramides, which are lipids naturally found in your skin. When applied to the skin, they can help replenish that lipid barrier. And also niacinamide. Niacinamide is actually an antioxidant, but it really can help with moisture retention through its beneficial impacts on barrier function. And it also can reduce oxidative stress that would otherwise weaken your barrier. So it kind of tackles a few angles. And then as far as cell turnover balance, 2 ingredients that I'm very fond of are urea, which is part of your skin's natural moisturizing factors. Urea is actually hygroscopic, but it also can soften and loosen built up dry skin cells, smoothing out the skin surface, allowing for ultimately better barrier function and better water retention in the skin. I also love the family of ingredients known as alpha hydroxy acids, but specifically when we're talking about really improving moisture retention, I love lactic acid. When we're talking about improving moisture content in the body, I highly suggest checking out amlactin lotion. It is an ammonium lactate, aka lactic acid, body lotion that is highly underrated for improving the moisture content of the skin. It's a great option if you are trying to improve moisture content in your skin on your body as it relates to maybe keratosis pilaris. Polyhydroxy acids are another class of ingredients like gluconolactone and lactobionic acid that deeply hydrate as well as soften that rough textured skin, smoothing out the skin surface. In contrast to urea and or lactic acid, they are less likely to sting. So if you have very sensitive skin, you may lean into those more, but no single ingredient or single family of ingredient is off limits for any certain skin type. It really is product dependent. So, you kind of have to find what works for you. The next tip relates to cleansing. Cleansing is a very delicate balance between removing dirt, oil, sebum, debris from the skin surface that would otherwise drive more irritation, oxidative stress that would ultimately weaken the barrier. It's a balance between removing that stuff, but not going overboard and disrupting the skin barrier. It's a very delicate balance. So I suggest choosing cleansers that employ ingredients that are hydrating. As they're removing the stuff that you want to take off, they're also depositing hydrating ingredients like hyaluronic acid. Now, my favorite cleanser at the moment is the Neutrogena Hydro Boost Hyaluronic Acid Fragrance-Free Gel Cleanser. I find that that is a wonderful cleanser that I believe addresses the needs of a wide array of skin types, well tolerated in general, highly suggested. Again, it will be in that little shopping tab. You don't want to abandon cleansing altogether. Cleansing is also important because as you rinse the cleanser off, especially if the cleanser can deposit behind some hydrating ingredients, your top layer of the skin is left more hydrated. This can be a good thing for addressing moisture, but remember, it will also allow for enhanced penetration of things, and therefore you may notice that ingredients that you put on top, products you put on top, are more likely to sting after cleansing. How frequent should you be cleansing in the summer? You really have to play around with that. It varies from person to person. Some people are fine just cleansing their skin once a day, whereas others prefer to cleanse twice a day. As far as cleansing and rinsing, something you want to rinse off of the skin that is more likely to accumulate in the hot summer months and that can weaken barrier function quite readily, especially if you have atopic dermatitis, and that is sweat. It's not uncommon to get really sweaty in the summer months, especially if you live where I do. It's currently 101 degrees out, so it's quite hot. Now, the purpose of sweat is to cool the body, but when left on the skin, first of all, the bacteria on your body will break it down and leak to body odor, and second of all, it's actually very irritating to the skin and a frequent trigger for flares of atopic dermatitis. And as it's an irritant and disruptive to the skin barrier, that's going to leave the skin more vulnerable to water loss. Try and time activities that work up a sweat to when you can actually follow them up with a shower. So for me personally, I have to do my workout in the evening because I like to take a shower right away after my workout, and then it's at nighttime and it calms me down for bed. So that is my routine. But if you're someone who gets sweaty earlier in the day, some other tips that you can do are to carry with you a little spray. Like I like to carry hypochlorous spray for these situations. It kind of helps cool the body just by evaporative losses, and it helps cleanse the skin a little bit and reduce the irritating effects of sweat on the skin. So it's a great option for people who have atopic dermatitis. I also highly suggest changing into dry clothing out of sweaty clothing because the sweat trapped in the clothing, it can really create a lot of irritation and barrier disruption for the skin that can put you at risk for skin infections as well as breakouts and just problems with skin hydration overall. In addition to being mindful of removing and rinsing off sweat, the other summertime activity that you definitely want to follow up with a quick rinse is going in the pool. I love swimming in the pool and I encourage people to do it. It's a wonderful form of exercise, but chlorine pool water, man, it can be very irritating to the skin when left on the skin. So make sure when you get out of the pool, you rinse the skin, get out of the wet bathing suit. This is a common mistake that people make. They stay in their wet bathing suit and then they wonder why 3 or 4 days later they have butt acne because they've been sitting in a wet bathing suit. It compromised the integrity of the skin barrier, led to more irritation, made for a more hospitable environment for bacteria to get in the follicles and cause a little bacterial folliculitis or an acne-like breakout. So make sure you get out of that wet bathing suit, change into dry clothing, rinse the skin, and follow it up with a moisturizer. The chlorine pool water can be very drying on the skin. Likewise, I suggest the same tips if you're going to be swimming in the ocean. While salt water can be healing in a more holistic sense, if you will, it also can be very drying to the skin. So make sure you rinse it off once you get out of the water. And again, don't hang out in salty, wet clothes. That will wreak havoc on your skin. All right, speaking of pool and speaking of ocean and summer, you guys know what's coming next. You have got to protect your skin from the sun. Of course, coming from me, you know that's going to make an appearance in the video, but let me tell you why it's so important for moisture retention. UV rays from the sun, you know at this point that they destroy the DNA in your skin cells, put you at risk for skin cancers, but they also compromise the integrity of your lipid barrier, making it more vulnerable to water loss, God forbid you sustain a sunburn, you have an impaired barrier. It's going to lose more water. So much so that it leaves you vulnerable to dehydration. Check out my video on tips for a sunburn. We talk about the importance of staying hydrated with fluids and electrolytes if you get a sunburn, because that barrier is very, very down. Protect your skin from the sun through wearing a broad spectrum sunscreen, water resistant when you're going to be doing outdoor activities. Make sure you're reapplying every 2 hours. When you're in the water, as soon as you get out of the water, you need to put sunscreen on again because it's going to come off. But in addition to sunscreen, make sure you're wearing sun protective clothing as best you can tolerate in the hot months. I know long sleeves are like very intimidating. This shirt I'm wearing right now though, it is very lightweight and cool and comfortable. I've been wearing it a lot this summer and it's super hot and humid here. Also, a hat can go a long way, and of course protect your eyes with sunglasses. And my final tip is to appreciate that certain body sites may need a little bit more TLC in terms of hydrating the skin compared to others. Just take, for example, on your body. Throughout the summer, actually all year, but in the summer in particular, the backs of your forearms and the backs of your hands, they're getting a lot more sun exposure. That can lead them more prone to dryness, irritation, losing water, becoming dehydrated. The backs of the hands are some of the first territory where the visible signs of skin aging show up. The skin there is thin and delicate, gets a lot of sun exposure, plus you're touching things. It's just a lot more exposed. So make sure that you are using hydrating ingredients to replenish the lipid barrier, and make sure, again, you're protecting from the sun in these areas. Whereas your butt cheeks probably don't need as much TLC. As a point of illustration, compare the skin on like the backs of your arms to the skin on your butt cheek. You can tell there's a difference, and that difference relates to exposures. This area is just a lot more exposed than your butt cheeks, well, depending on your lifestyle. Your lips have a very thin to non-existent stratum corneum. That's the very top layer of the skin. They're more vulnerable to losing water and becoming irritated. They're also super susceptible to UV damage. You can easily get a blistering sunburn on your lips. So you want to be protecting your lips from the sun with a SPF lip balm. And you also maybe want to lean into, at nighttime, putting petrolatum ointment, aka Vaseline, on the lips to really allow for good barrier recovery. In the winter months, a lot of people love putting Vaseline all over their face. That's called slugging. But let's be honest, at least for me right now, the thought of putting Vaseline all over my face in 101-degree heat with a humidity that is so intense, if you go out with a bar of soap, you can generate a lather. The idea of putting Vaseline all over my face is like, not doing that. But I can tolerate it around my lips. Likewise, eyelid skin is vulnerable to irritation. Think about it. You get a lot of sweat off of your forehead, it can run into your eyes, around your eyelids. You rub your eyes, seasonal allergies, pollens, things of that sort as you're spending more time outdoors, pollutants, lots of things can just really irritate eyelid skin. And the muscles around the eyes contract in a way that really sucks in any potential allergen really up close to that already thin, delicate skin, making it a lot more vulnerable to losing water and becoming dull, dehydrated, dry, and irritation prone. So you may, in that area, really need to lean into something very occlusive like petrolatum to really seal in water and allow for good barrier recovery. You spend time in the garden, maybe on your knees doing gardening. You may notice that you get a lot of thickening of the skin on your knees. It can lead to the appearance of discolored skin. And one way to improve the appearance of that is to use a hydroxy acid body moisturizer like amlactin. It will help deeply hydrate and soften that buildup of skin and smooth everything out, getting things back on track to normalcy. And then also, when you are kneeling down for a prolonged period of time, get yourself a little cushion or something so that you're not putting so much pressure there on the skin and leading to rubbing and friction and skin thickening that can lead to discoloration. All right, y'all, those are my 6 tips on how to hydrate your skin this summer. I hope this video was helpful to you all. And again, don't forget to check that little shop feature if anything I mentioned in this video is of interest to you and you want to learn more about it. But if you like this one, give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and as always, don't forget, sunscreen and subscribe. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Bye.